Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
Have you ever walked into a room and felt something was wrong before anyone spoke? What if that heavy feeling isn't in your head, but a quiet warning? And what if learning to respect yourself begins the moment you recognize it? When you walk into a room full of people, you can often feel the atmosphere before a single word is spoken. Some spaces feel light, warm, and safe. Others feel heavy, as if the air itself is thick with tension, judgment, or control. That is the unseen impact toxic people have. They shift the atmosphere without saying a word. They disturb your inner peace, and slowly, almost subtly, you begin to question yourself. But here's the truth. You cannot respect yourself in front of toxic people unless you first recognize what toxicity looks like. And that is not always easy. Toxic behavior rarely announces itself loudly. Most of the time, it whispers. It hides behind sarcasm, behind fake concern, behind smiles that never quite reach the eyes. You notice it when someone constantly criticizes you, not to help you grow, but to make you feel smaller. You feel it when situations are manipulated so that you are always the one apologizing, even when you did nothing wrong. You see it when conversations always circle back to their problems, their opinions, their pain, leaving no space for yours. Toxic people thrive on imbalance. Recognizing this is not about harsh judgment. It is about protecting the dignity God placed within you. Many people stay around those who drain their spirit for so long that it begins to feel normal. You start telling yourself maybe it is your fault, maybe you are too sensitive, maybe you just need more patience. But respect begins the moment you realize you were never meant to shrink so someone else could feel tall. Toxicity wears many faces. Sometimes it comes wrapped in charm. Other times it hides behind authority. It may look like a friend who jokes at your expense and calls it humor, a coworker who quietly takes credit for your work, a family member who keeps reopening your past, or a partner who uses guilt to silence you. These behaviors slowly chip away at your confidence. But the moment you name it, when you say this is not healthy, this is not love, this is not respect, you begin to take your power back. That is the first true step to respecting yourself in front of toxic people. Awareness. Awareness is not bitterness. It is wisdom. When your eyes open, you stop bending to someone else's expectations. You stop letting their moods control your peace. You start standing tall again. Kindness is often mistaken for weakness. Gentleness is confused with something that can be controlled. But recognizing toxicity does not make you cruel. It makes you courageous. Toxic people depend on confusion. They want you unsure of yourself, unsure of what is real. And the moment clarity arrives, their control begins to fade. Once you see the pattern clearly, you cannot unsee it. That is when their words stop cutting so deeply, because you finally understand where they are coming from. There was a time when I believed loving people meant tolerating everything they carried, no matter how heavy it felt. But love without wisdom eventually becomes a burden. You can forgive someone and still recognize that their behavior is harmful. You can pray for someone and still refuse to let them disturb your peace. Seeing toxicity for what it is does not mean you hate the person. It means you respect yourself enough to face the truth. Let me ask you this. How many times have you walked away from a conversation feeling smaller, more anxious, more unsure of yourself? How often have you excused someone's behavior because you did not want to appear rude or unkind? Self-respect begins the moment you listen to that quiet inner voice that whispers, "This does not feel right." That voice is not weakness. It is your spirit guarding you. It reminds you that your heart was never meant to live in constant defense. There is power in naming what you experience. When someone belittles you and you recognize it as manipulation rather than guidance, you reclaim your ground. When someone uses silence to punish you and you see it as control rather than love, the cycle begins to break. Toxic people lose their influence the moment you see them clearly. They only dominate when you are confused. Awareness also reveals your worth. You begin to understand that how someone treats you reflects their heart, not your value. You no longer need to absorb their anger or carry their chaos. You can stand steady, knowing your peace does not belong to them. It belongs to you. One of the hardest truths to accept is that people you care about deeply can still be toxic. That realization hurts. But awareness is not rejection. It is honesty. You can love someone and still keep your distance. You can care without becoming a casualty. Awareness gives you freedom. It allows compassion without confusion and clarity without guilt. When you see clearly, you stop reacting to manipulation and start responding to truth. You no longer feel guilty for protecting your heart. You feel responsible for it. You were never created to carry everyone's emotional weight. You were created to walk in strength, light, and dignity. And before you can stand with confidence in front of toxic people, you must be willing to say, I see this for what it is. That single realization changes everything. When clarity arrives, you stop bending to lies and stop living under someone else's shadow. You begin walking in truth. And once you know the difference between poison and peace, you will never confuse them again. There comes a moment in every life when you realize that peace does not come from avoiding conflict. It comes from setting boundaries. A boundary is not a wall meant to shut people out. It is a clear line that defines where you end and where another person begins. This is not arrogance. It is respect for yourself and for others. Many people, especially those with gentle hearts, struggle with this. We are taught to be kind, forgiving, and understanding, and those qualities matter. But kindness without boundaries leads to exhaustion. Forgiveness without boundaries quietly invites more pain. When toxic people are involved, boundaries are not optional. They are necessary. Toxic people test limits constantly. They push, persuade, and pressure, searching for how far they can go. And if you never say enough, they take your silence as permission. They take your time, your energy, and your joy until you are left feeling empty and confused. Self-respect begins when you accept responsibility for what you allow. Boundaries start quietly. They do not begin with arguments or explanations. They begin with a decision inside you. I will not allow this behavior to disturb my peace. Sometimes that means saying no without guilt. Sometimes it means stepping away from conversations that always turn negative. Sometimes it means refusing to explain yourself over and over to people who are not listening. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about controlling your access, your reactions, and your energy. There is strength in calm firmness. Toxic people thrive on chaos and emotional reactions. When you stand steady, without anger but with quiet resolve, you take away their power. You stop being pulled by their moods. That is real self-respect, not raising your voice, but standing taller in silence. Some will call this selfish. It is not. Boundaries are sacred. They protect the love within you so it does not turn into resentment. Think of a garden without a fence. Anyone can walk through and destroy what is growing. Setting boundaries is simply protecting what matters. Yes, your boundaries will be tested. Those who benefited from your lack of limits will resist. They may say you have changed or try to make you feel guilty. But growth always unsettles those who preferred the old version of you, the one who tolerated too much. Do not let their resistance make you question your progress. In time, people will either learn to respect your boundaries or move away. Both outcomes bring peace. As you stand firm, you will notice how often you once said yes while your heart whispered no. You will see how much energy you spent trying to please others while your own soul grew tired. The moment you choose to protect your peace, something shifts. You stop asking permission to take care of yourself. You begin living with quiet authority, the calm confidence of knowing you are allowed to honor your own well-being. Sometimes boundaries are as simple as silence. Not every message deserves a reply. Not every insult needs an answer. Silence can be the strongest boundary you ever set. It quietly says, I'm done engaging. This is not pride. It is peace. When you stop responding to chaos, you stop feeding it. There are also moments when a boundary means walking away. That is often the hardest choice. We hope people will change. We hope they will finally understand the pain they caused. But sometimes the most loving thing you can do, for them and for yourself, is to step back and let life teach them what you cannot. Walking away does not mean you have failed. It means you have surrendered the struggle to God. It means your peace is too valuable to keep throwing into storms that never settle. Once you set a boundary, you must guard it. Consistency gives boundaries their strength. If you bend every time someone complains or tries to guilt you, your boundaries collapse. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow. And if someone leaves because they refuse to respect your limits, let them go. You are not losing love. You are losing control disguised as concern. Some people fear that setting boundaries will leave them alone. But when you respect yourself enough to draw lines, you may lose a few people and gain peace. And peace is worth more than popularity. The relationships that remain will be rooted in mutual respect, not dependence. When you set boundaries, you are not only saying no to others. You are saying yes to your own well-being. You are declaring that you matter. That realization changes everything. You stop chasing chaos and stop seeking validation from those who never intended to honor you. So when toxic people try to cross your line, do not meet them with anger. Meet them with calm strength. Speak once if needed, then stand steady. Let silence finish the conversation. Real strength does not always shout. Sometimes it simply knows when to say enough. It is not loud. It does not seek attention, yet it is steady and strong. Toxic people feed on reaction. They look for anger, confusion, or hurt because your reaction gives them control. The more emotional you become, the more power they feel they have. But when you stay calm, when you refuse to give them what they expect, that power returns to you. In that moment, you show them your peace is not for sale. We live in a world where everyone wants the last word, where proving a point feels like winning. But with toxic people, there is no victory. They twist your words, drain your energy, and leave you exhausted. You cannot reason with someone who is not seeking truth, only control. That is why protecting your emotional energy matters so much. Every word you spend trying to convince someone who refuses to listen is a piece of peace you will never get back. Controlling your emotions does not mean becoming cold. It means knowing when to speak and when silence is wiser. Some battles are not meant to be fought. They are traps meant to pull you into someone else's chaos. At times, silence speaks louder than any argument. A calm smile in the face of provocation often shows more strength than shouting ever could. Toxic people want to pull you into their storm so they can say you are no different from them. But when you choose calm over chaos, they lose their grip on you. It is like standing in the wind and realizing it cannot move you. Each day, you are given a limited supply of energy. It goes to your work, your family, your faith, your dreams. How much of it do you waste on people determined to misunderstand you? How much do you give to arguments that lead nowhere? Every moment spent replaying pain steals from your peace. It is not easy, but it is worth practicing. When someone disrespects you or spreads lies about you, your first instinct is to defend yourself. You want to explain, to make them understand. But toxic people are not searching for truth. They are searching for reaction. The more emotional you become, the more control they feel they have. So instead of explaining, breathe. Instead of reacting, pray. Rather than matching their energy, stay rooted in peace. You do not have to prove anything. Truth has a way of standing on its own with time. There is a dignity in calm that cannot be manufactured. When you remain steady in the face of insult, people notice. Even toxic people notice, and it unsettles them because they thrive on chaos. Once they realize they cannot disturb your peace, they begin to lose interest. The real enemy of toxicity is not confrontation, it is composure. Nothing confuses a manipulator more than someone who refuses to be ruled by emotion. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is to pause. Before responding to a cruel message, before answering a provoking question, before stepping into an argument, pause. Ask yourself, will this protect my peace or drain it? That single question can save you hours, even days, of regret. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you are not just conserving energy. You are training your spirit to lead instead of react. Scripture reminds us to be still, and there is deep wisdom in that. Stillness is not weakness. It is strength under control. It means you could strike back, but you choose restraint. You could argue, but you choose silence. You could seek revenge, but you choose peace. That is not passivity. It is power guided by wisdom. That is power. That is what real respect looks like. The ability to stay centered when everything around you is trying to pull you off balance. Controlling your emotional energy does not mean suppressing how you feel. It does not mean pretending everything is fine when it is not. It means processing your emotions privately, safely, and wisely. Cry if you need to. Pray if you need to. But do not hand your emotions to people who will turn them into weapons. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Some people have not earned that privilege. Protecting your emotions is not pride. It is stewardship. There is a quiet freedom in realizing you do not have to attend every argument you are invited to. You do not have to answer anger with anger. You do not have to let someone else's chaos decide your mood. You can observe behavior without absorbing it. You can care without carrying their dysfunction. You can love them, yes, but from a distance where your peace stays intact. When you learn to guard that peace, everything begins to change. You respond with wisdom instead of impulse. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop spending energy on those who refuse to grow. Life becomes lighter, calmer, freer. You begin to walk into situations knowing that no matter how others behave, your peace will not be shaken. It takes time, and sometimes you will slip. You will react. You will say something you wish you had not. That is part of growth. Progress is built in those moments when you catch yourself and choose calm over chaos. Each time you do, you honor yourself. So when you stand before toxic people, do not let them steal what is sacred within you. Guard your energy like a treasure because it is one. Choose peace over drama, calm over chaos, dignity over noise. When your peace becomes stronger than their poison, you begin to understand real power. There is deep strength in knowing who you are. When you stand firm in your values and identity, no toxic person can make you question your worth. You become unshakable, not because you are hard, but because you are rooted in truth. The world will always try to define you. Too much, not enough, too loud, too quiet. Toxic people especially try to twist your sense of self, convincing you that you are the problem. But the moment you truly know who you are and what you stand for, their words lose their grip on you. Their manipulation begins to fade in the light of your confidence. When you do not know your identity, you accept the labels others place on you. You bend. You shrink. You apologize for simply being yourself. But when you are anchored in your God-given worth, no insult, no gossip, no rejection can shake that foundation. You stop living to please people, and you start living in truth. That is where real self-respect begins. Toxic people prey on uncertainty. They search for cracks in your confidence. One moment they praise you. The next they criticize you, keeping you off balance. They question your motives, your memory, even your emotions, all to make you dependent on their approval. But when you are rooted in who you are, you stop chasing validation. You no longer need them to tell you that you are enough. You already know your value, and it is not up for debate. I once spoke with a young woman who said she no longer recognized herself. She had spent so long becoming what others wanted that she lost sight of who she was. That is what toxic relationships do. They slowly wear down your identity until you become a reflection of someone else's expectations. But your identity was not given to you by people, so it cannot be taken away by them. You were created with purpose, dignity, and strength. When you remember that, you begin to rise again. Standing firm in your values does not make you rigid. It means you grow from a solid core. Your values become your compass in confusing moments. Integrity keeps you steady. Humility keeps you grounded. Truth keeps you free. You can love deeply without compromising what is right. You can show grace without surrendering your principles. Toxic people do not just test your patience. They test your identity. They try to redefine love as control, loyalty as silence, and respect as submission. But when you know who you are, you can see clearly. You can say, this is not love. This is manipulation. This is not respect. This is fear. And in that moment, you reclaim your dignity. Standing firm often brings misunderstanding. When you choose peace over drama, some will call you cold. When you refuse manipulation, they may call you arrogant. When you stop tolerating disrespect, they say you have changed. And you have. You have changed for the better. You have learned that your soul was not meant to live in constant conflict. You have learned that boundaries are not betrayal. Self-respect is not pride. It is honoring the truth that you are worthy of respect. There will be seasons when standing in your values costs you something. You may lose relationships. You may walk alone for a while. Do not fear that season. Standing alone with integrity is far better than standing with people who require you to betray yourself to belong. You were never meant to fit into toxicity. You were made to rise above it. When you are firm in who you are, you stop reacting to every opinion. You stop explaining your choices to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You begin choosing peace over approval, truth over comfort, and strength over survival. In that steadiness, something changes. People notice it. They may not understand it, but they can feel it. That calm assurance, that quiet confidence, commands respect without ever demanding it. Think of a tree rooted deep in the ground. The wind howls, the rain falls, storms come and go, but the roots hold. That is what it means to know who you are. Your values are your roots. They keep you steady when life tries to shake you. Toxic people are like storms. Loud, forceful, unsettling, but never permanent. What remains after they pass is the strength of your foundation. And here is the truth. You do not have to prove your worth to anyone. You do not need to explain your boundaries, justify your peace, or apologize for your growth. Those who truly value you will respect who you are becoming. Those who do not were never meant to stay. The more firmly you stand, the more clearly you see who belongs in your life and who does not. When you know who you are, you can face toxic people without fear. Their words may sting, but they will not stay with you. Their judgment may echo, but it will not shake you. Your worth does not come from them. It comes from something higher, something lasting, something that cannot be stolen by criticism or broken by betrayal. So when you find yourself around people who try to pull you down, remember this. You do not have to argue. You do not have to prove anything. You do not have to fight. Stand firm. Stand in truth. Stand in love. Stand in dignity. Let your steadiness speak louder than their noise. There is quiet strength in choosing dignity over defensiveness. When toxic people attack your character, spread rumors, or try to provoke you, the urge to defend yourself can be strong. But the moment you feel the need to constantly explain who you are, you begin to give away your peace. You end up fighting battles that are not worth your energy. Trying to convince people who are determined to misunderstand you is like pouring water into a broken cup. It never fills, and it never satisfies. Dignity is not silence born from fear. It is silence born from wisdom. Truth does not need to shout. When you walk in quiet confidence and refuse to be pulled into drama, you keep both your peace and your power. Toxic people thrive on reaction. The moment you stay calm, the moment you do not take the bait, their control fades. But when you stay calm, when you answer with grace instead of anger, their grip begins to loosen. Sometimes the strongest statement you can make is silence. Let people talk. Let them assume. Let them gossip. You do not have to chase every rumor to defend yourself. Truth has its own timing, and it always finds its way to the surface. Your dignity will protect you far better than any argument ever could. The more you try to explain yourself to people who thrive on misunderstanding you, the deeper you get pulled into their chaos. There will be moments when your silence is mistaken for weakness. Some will think you have given up or accepted defeat. What they cannot see is the quiet battle within you. The one where you choose restraint over reaction, peace over pride, and character over chaos. That unseen battle is where real victory is won. And yes, it is not easy. When someone lies about you or disrespects you, it cuts deeply. Every instinct wants to rise up and set the record straight. But not everyone can handle your truth. Some people are too invested in their version of the story to ever admit they are wrong. And you cannot heal in the same place that keeps wounding you. Sometimes the most dignified choice is to walk away and let your silence speak over time. When you stop defending yourself, you stop living in reaction. You stop letting others control the rhythm of your emotions. You begin moving at the pace of peace instead of chaos. Defensiveness keeps you trapped in their world, but dignity lifts you above it. It places you on higher ground. You do not need to prove your worth to anyone who is trying to diminish it. You do not need to justify your heart to people who have already decided not to understand it. Those who are meant to know your character will see it in how you live, not in how you argue. Walking away does not make you weak. It makes you free. There is courage in refusing to fight battles that no longer deserve your presence. Sometimes your strength is not in your words, but in your composure. In the way you keep your head high when others try to pull you down. In the way you choose peace when revenge would be easier. When you live with dignity, you become untouchable. Not because people stop trying to hurt you, but because you no longer give them the power to shape how you feel. Their words may reach your ears, but they do not reach your spirit. Their betrayal may sting, but it does not steal your joy. You stop responding from pain and start living from purpose. You can forgive without reconnecting. You can love without engaging in their games. That is what dignity does. It allows you to rise without bitterness, move on without explanation, and stand firm without hatred. And in the quiet after the storm, you realize something powerful. Peace is not found in proving you were right. It is found in knowing you stayed true to who you are. You did not let their lies turn you into someone you are not. And that is what makes you victorious. In the end, dignity always outlasts deceit. You may not see justice right away. Truth often takes time to rise, but it always does. Time reveals what words try to hide. People may forget what was said, but they will remember how you carried yourself. They will remember your steadiness, your composure, your grace. Long after the noise fades, your character will still be standing. So when toxic people twist your words, mock your intentions, or question your worth, do not waste your breath trying to convince them. Stand in truth. Stand in calm. Let your actions speak louder than anger. Every time you choose dignity over defensiveness, you honor yourself. You protect your peace. You affirm a truth no one can take from you. When you can walk away with your peace intact, you have already won a battle words could never win. Healing is not weakness. It is strength. It takes courage to rise after being surrounded by people who drained you, belittled you, or made you doubt your worth. It takes even greater courage to choose healing over hatred, growth over bitterness, forgiveness over revenge. Toxic encounters leave marks. You may leave them behind physically, but they can linger in your thoughts, in your heart, in the way you see yourself. That is why healing matters. Without it, you carry their poison long after they are gone. Walking away is not always enough. You can leave the relationship or the environment, but if you do not heal, the wounds keep whispering. You begin to doubt good people. You start guarding your heart too tightly. You assume everyone will hurt you the same way. Healing means facing what happened, allowing yourself to feel it, and then releasing it. Not to forget, but to move forward without chains. Healing also means taking responsibility for your peace. It is easy to say they hurt me and stop there. Healing begins when you say they hurt me, but they will not define me. You cannot control how others treated you, but you can control what you do with what remains. You can stay bitter, or you can grow wiser. You can let pain harden you, or you can let it strengthen you. Every scar can become a reminder of defeat or a testimony of resilience. Toxic people want you small, ashamed, and powerless. They rely on that brokenness to keep control. But when you begin to heal, when you reclaim your joy and peace, you take that power back. Healing is the ultimate act of self-respect. It says you may have wounded me, but you do not get to decide how my story ends. And healing is a process. It does not happen overnight. Some days you will feel free. Other days old memories will return. That is part of the journey. Keep going. Each step forward restores what was taken and reminds you who you truly are. Every time you choose peace over pain, every time you forgive when anger pulls at you, every time you refuse to repeat the same cycle, you are healing. Healing is not about erasing the past. It is about learning how to live beyond it. One of the most powerful steps in healing is forgiveness, not for their sake, but for yours. Forgiveness does not excuse what they did, and it does not invite them back into your life. It releases the grip their actions still have on your heart. It ends the endless replay of hurt in your mind. Holding on to unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to suffer. It does not free you. It binds you. Forgiveness, real forgiveness, opens the door to peace and allows you to breathe again. Healing also means choosing your environment wisely. After living around toxicity, you can forget what healthy connection feels like. You forget what it means to be heard, respected, and valued. Healing accelerates when you rebuild your circle with people who speak life, encourage growth, and remind you that joy is still possible. Spend time in places that restore your soul, not drain it. Rest, reflect, and reconnect with who you were before you were taught to doubt your worth. Do not rush your healing. The world pressures you to move on quickly, to smile before your heart is ready. But forced peace never lasts. Give yourself permission to mend slowly. Let time work. Let silence teach what chaos never could. Healing does not erase pain. It redeems it. It turns wounds into wisdom and scars into strength. As healing deepens, you will see toxic people from your past more clearly. They will no longer appear powerful, only wounded. That does not excuse their behavior, but it reveals a truth that sets you free. Their actions were never a measure of your worth. When their name no longer stirs anger, only calm acceptance, you will know you have healed. Healing changes how you love. You stop chasing approval. You stop begging for affection from those who cannot give it. You learn to love from fullness, not emptiness. And when new toxic patterns appear, you recognize them early. You step back with wisdom and say, not this time. That is growth. That is healing at work. Healing is not one moment. It is a daily choice. Each time you protect your peace, each time you break an old pattern, each time you speak kindly to yourself after years of criticism, you are healing. And one day, you will look back and realize those painful experiences did not destroy you. They directed you. They revealed the strength you did not know you had and taught you what you will never tolerate again. So do not hide your scars. Let them remind you that you survived and that your heart still beats with purpose. Choose healing. Choose growth. Choose life. I wish you all great health, lasting happiness, and peace in every season. And remember to subscribe to my channel, Mindset Daily.